Representative Larry Howes led the effort to get a full $221 million for the Capitol restorations and renovations. He's here now to talk about what's next for the building and about the bonding bill in general. Thanks for joining us, Representative Howes.
Well, thanks for having me.
Let's begin with the Capitol building, and I want to begin with a quote from your colleague, Dean Erdahl. He stated, quote, "Our consulting architect has told us that if the Capitol were a medical patient, the exterior is on life support." Would you agree with this statement?
Almost. I would almost agree. I have a different opinion. My opinion is the Capitol has a lot of acne, but the arteries and the nervous system are deteriorating faster, and it's a combination of the two. So just by replacing the stonework, you still have the inside of the body that's going to die.
And he went on to talk about the condition internally as well and how it's critical as well. So you authored the bill to appropriate $221 million for the building. Eventually, the legislature did approve $44 million. Now, it's difficult for a layperson to try to wrap their arms around such an extensive project, but how much can get done, in your opinion, with $44 million?
Not a very lot. You have to come forward with a bid, a plan, and to bid and plan a job that's $221 million with only $40 million available, any contractor is going to hedge their bets, as it were, because they're not sure if more money will come. And the architectural fees alone, I believe, are $20 million.
So what would you like to see done? In what order would you like to see it done?
Well, I wanted all the money to start with, spread out over 4 years, 77 to start with, knowing then the contractor would know everything else is going to be in place unless the legislature changes the law, which I don't think they ever would have at that point. So that would have been the best bet. Then we could have gotten a guaranteed price, a guaranteed schedule, and everybody would have known what's going on. But this way, there is no real schedule. It's when the $40 million runs out, and hopefully next year I would, well, if I'm here next year and still chair, I would move for $180 million right away.
And you did just answer my next question. I was going to ask you what would be next. It's arguably it's going to be a very different legislative makeup.
Right.
There's also an expected or a projected budget deficit. What are the chances of getting that additional funding?
I think at this point, because of the 44 we invested, I think it's critical that we finish the job. Next year will be an off year for bonding, but yet whether or not I'm in the majority or the minority, I would bring a bill forward. And I think Representative Hausman, if she's in the majority, would probably have the same impression, same idea.
Okay, Representative Howes, the Capitol building funding was, as I mentioned, eventually placed in the bonding bill. Now, when this larger Capitol building bill did die, many doubted whether or not there'd be any bonding bill at all. So what changed on that day to allow for the eventual passage of a bonding bill?
Patience and patience and patience. I was reasonably confident there would be a bonding bill. We just had to wait and let everything else happen in the order that it happened. And the bonding bill is always one of the last things, except for that, what do we do, some ballpark or stadium or something, I can't recall.
I heard a little something about that.
You are wearing kind of a purple color, so.
Yes, I am, and you're not.
No.
I'm just teasing. So this bonding bill did eventually total $496 million. Many in the DFL did criticize the fact that it excluded many local projects such as civic centers. So in your opinion, was this bill perhaps a sign of what bonding bills might look like in the future, where they're more focused on statewide infrastructure and perhaps less on local projects?
Well, I recall when Ventura came in, and he came in the same time I did. And he started this by saying there won't be any local projects. The bonding bill won't be a vehicle for pork, for all you fill in the blank as to what he called us, to get reelected. So it started there, and for 4 years we sort of shied away from tagging particular jobs. Let's say the DNR was going to get money for parks and trails. We wouldn't necessarily define a trail. Let the DNR do that in their order of choice. But plenty drifted away from that a little bit, but still in some sense held that line. And the new majority of Republicans in the House and Senate did not want the so-called earmark. Now, I think it's the legislature's job to specify where the money goes. And if you want to call it an earmark, I suppose you can, but it's not like Washington where that's really an earmark. But that was the way things went this year, so we had to be very careful how we crafted it without trying to make anything too local.
What about the total, $496 million, significantly higher than your initial proposal? Were you good with it? Were you happy with it?
Well, yeah, I think it was a very good bill, but it's higher than the original because if you recall, I had 221 for the capital
removed
and 240 for, so it was 460 something. So in essence, the total is a little higher than what I originally started with, but it worked well. We spread it all through the state, and I think we did some very good projects.
And what would you have liked to have seen included that perhaps did not make it in?
Maybe a little bit more for the University of Minnesota, a little bit more for roads and bridges, quite a bit more for wastewater. We need that throughout rural Minnesota. I know folks in the metropolitan area don't understand rural Minnesota with wastewater or septic systems. They just don't get it because everything here is done by the Met Council and they flush the toilet and they don't have to worry about anything. But up there, it's a lot more critical.
So, Chair Howes, my last question for you then is, next session, it's not traditionally a bonding session. However, bonding bills have come through the first year of a biennium. Yes, so if you are chair, would you push for one again, perhaps a smaller version of one to
Yes, I would. I would push to finish the capital. And then there's always the flood issue, whether or not we need some money for that, or if there's a tornado or some catastrophic event that happens, and that does on occasion, so we do that. But I think the large bonding bill would be saved for the following year. But I believe we need to finish the capital.
Okay, Representative Larry Howes, thank you for your time and perspective. We appreciate it.
Thank you.